15 important lessons rich parents teach their kids that poor parents don't. Today, we're going to explore the differences in parenting approaches by the rich to ensure their kids have a better chance at long-term success. We've been interested in this for a while, especially since as time goes by, most of us have been considering having children. And we most certainly wish to give them the right tools to succeed in life. This video will be beneficial to you regardless of where you find yourself in life. You can still learn valuable life lessons and advice from the wealthy and share them with your children. Just imagine the value that some good advice or a word of encouragement could provide if given to you at just the right time or when you need it most. So let's get started. If you are new here, welcome. Here are the 15 things rich parents teach their kids that poor parents do not. Number 1. Understanding how money works. It might sound basic, but not everyone asks themselves these questions. How do people make money? Why am I being compensated this much by my employer? What things determine my salary or earnings? How do taxes work? Can that be optimized, too? What do I need to improve my finances? Rich parents usually make it a priority to discuss money values with their children as soon as they're old enough to understand money. This will allow children to grow up understanding the concept of providing services in exchange for money. They're introduced to general household expenses and putting themselves in various real-life situations where they discover that earning money takes a lot more work than it first seems. On the other hand, poor households don't usually talk about money, and it's hard for them to know how much their parents earn or how that money is spent on. They usually hear about money only when their parents are arguing about not having enough, which leads them to think that money and negative feelings go together. Number 2. They are not entitled to anything. The rich know that the world can take everything away from them if they're not performing, while the poor always seek someone to save them. Being born wealthy means you definitely have advantages, such as having quality tools and resources, never having to worry about basics like food or a roof over your head. However, that also comes with new threats that people living below the poverty line don't have to worry about. There's a lot more to lose, and as a result, one always feels pressured to make a careful decision. It's important that the wealthy teach their children that their personal journey is no different from others who didn't get a head start in life. They all need to remain focused on growth and not just maintaining the current pace. Success in life depends on the individual's own efforts, and as much as daddy's money can help, it can only go so far. A family's fortune is likely to crumble in the third generation when their children feel entitled. First, one person starts off with a hunger for success and builds large wealth. Second, their children grow up thinking that what they need to do is simply maintain the family wealth. Lastly, the third generation has lost its drive, feels entitled to success without any work, and usually wastes it all. To avoid this type of downfall, teach your kids the lessons from this video. Number 3. The difference between an asset and a liability. The poor oftentimes don't know what a good purchase is and what is a bad one. Once they earn money, they usually spend it all almost immediately. That's how people remain living in poverty. Let's explain this as simple terms as possible. Assets make you money, liabilities cost you money. The real challenge is that poor people are often unaware of what counts as a liability for them, so they do not always make the best financial decisions. For instance, the car you drive to the grocery store is a liability. It doesn't generate any revenue for you and needs to be constantly maintained. Same goes with your new iPhone, fancy clothes, flat-screen TV, and everything else you purchased without thinking. While wealthy people spend their time and money buying more assets, like a rental property turned into their own apartment, writing a book that allows them to publish revenue once it's completed, investing in a company they think will do well in the future, etc. But rich people have expensive things like cars and houses. Isn't that against what you're saying? Yes, they do own luxuries, but please pay very close attention because this is extremely important. The assets pay for the luxuries. Rich people don't usually buy luxuries with their own money. If you want a new car, for example, then figure out how to buy 2 apartments and use the rent they generate to cover the leasing costs on the vehicle. That way, when you get rid of your car, you still have money coming in. This is a key difference in behavior. When you start making money, spend your first couple of paychecks to buy assets instead of spending it all and saving nothing for later. Number 4. How to be sociable and connect with other people. It is surprising that more people don't realize the importance of having a pleasant conversation. Successful people socialize their kids before age 4, and they are not even kidding. If a child socializes with others early on, then it's likely that their peers will want to play with them. And if they are well behaved around other kids, other parents will trust them enough to care for them at the playground. This has a snowball effect throughout life. When people like you and enjoy being around you, this builds up and leads to opportunities opening up that were not available before. Early socialization is one of the most important factors for children in their future. Teachers will treat you better, you'll get access to better job opportunities and make friends that are more likely to be someone that understands you. We've learned this valuable lesson from Dr. Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life. Number 5. Money is a tool and it's a good thing. Many people believe that money is the root of all evil, and that those who have more money are not as happy or successful. Take a moment to think about the person you heard saying it. How successful were they, and how happy were they in their lives? Poor people tend to blame their misfortunes on the lack of money in their lives and associate it with negativity. This is because, even when they get money, they are still faced with enough problems that they don't know how to tackle. The rich understand that money is just a tool which we use to negotiate the world. It needs to be treated as such and managed carefully. It's just pieces of paper and plastic with drawings on them which has value. Nothing more, nothing less. You should stop taking it so personally. Use your money to make your life better. Money is very similar to scissors. While scissors are a very functional tool, you can use them to cut hair or stab yourself in the eye. And for some reason, I don't know why people end up choosing the latter option for no obvious reason. If you change your mindset around money and consider it as a tool, you'll gradually stop harming yourself with it. Number 6. Stop expecting immediate results and avoid magical thinking. We live in such an instant environment these days. We want to watch a movie? Plug it into Netflix and have it at our fingertips. Want to eat? No time for cooking. Fast food or order in will do the trick. Want to hook up? There are options for that too with Tinder. A lot of people don't realize that wealth and happiness don't fall into this instant category. People on a low income might have an unrealistic expectation that they'll quickly become rich. They usually think their lives will somehow automatically be better if they win a large sum of money or inherit property. The irony is that even if they were able to get a lot of money, they are not educated enough to know what to do with it and will eventually spend everything. Rich parents realize the need to teach their kids about long-term thinking early on. It's one of the characteristics that separates the rich from everyone else. One discovery we made is that how much progress you can make if you think about life in large batches of time. Say 5, 10, 20 years. Bill Gates once said, "People often overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year and underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years. The year is almost over," which means a lot of people will be making New Year's resolutions. Try to plan for the next decade instead of just the new year, and see if that helps you stay focused in making progress. Number 7. How to create daily habits that on the long run give them incredible advantages. One of the best skills to teach your kids is how to create a habit for themselves. Habits are amazing, and once you realize how valuable they can be, your life changes. It takes about 21 days to create a new habit, and once you push past the first 21 days, it's much easier to keep the habit than if you stopped after the first few weeks. That habit becomes a part of you. You don't read enough. Turn reading into a habit. You want to get fit but never have the motivation to go to the gym, make it a habit. The same with your work. If you organize and optimize your workflow, you'll open up a lot of your day for other things. The rich use positive habits to improve their lives, and the poor nurture bad habits which lead their lives into ruin. Habits are a way to amplify what you put into them, so focus on building good habits. The rich just do wealth creation actions as a part of their daily routine, while the poor often engage in negative routines. You should be careful about which habits you instill in your child. They learn from what you do and not what you teach them to do. Number 8. Increase income instead of lowering expenses. One of the most important lessons a parent can teach their child is how to generate more money. It just takes the same amount of effort to barely survive or to thrive. This might sound peculiar, but it's reality. The difference between the two is in the strategy you offer and in your financial knowledge you use to back up that effort. The smarter you are, the less effort you have to put into this venue. That is why Wall Street traders earn so much more than miners. Which one of these do you think expends the most effort? Poor people are always focused on lowering expenses as much as possible, sometimes to the point that life becomes not worth living. Do you think the rich care about a $5 coffee from Starbucks or not? Or spending $30 on a movie? They spend all their attention on increasing the amount of money flowing in. If you significantly increase your income, there's always going to be plenty of money left over at the end of the month. Poor people teach their children to focus more on lowering their expenses, whereas wealthy people tend to focus on increasing their salaries and earning more money. Combining that with lesson number 3 on this list and you are well on your way to becoming rich. Number 9. Solving problems is the quickest way to get rich. One thing that those who are wealthy teach their children is the fundamental difference between getting paid and getting rich. Poor people are employed for single activity jobs which require a repeated action. A great example of this is delivering newspapers, washing cars, or answering phones and so on. The rich never do tedious jobs themselves because it's easy to get other people to do them. They focus on the big questions, the bigger problem they solve, and the richer they become. Newspapers have transformed into content websites that distribute their messages the same way, with less work. Answering the phone became automated messaging which, by the way, Google has a new AI that will likely end up taking receptionist jobs for good. As you can see, many famous figures in the modern world have made a lot of money by solving problems and creating products that serve humanity's needs. Such as Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos. People love to pay for solutions to their problems. Teach your children the value of solving someone else's problem. They'll be set for life. Number 10. Knowledge is more valuable than money in the long run. There's a quote we kept hearing when we first started and it took a while to truly appreciate the message in that quote. Invest in yourself, it pays the best dividends. Sounds like it's easy, right? Well, there's a lot more to being informed than going to school or reading books. It has a lot more to do with increasing your value in the world. The world rewards people for creating value for others. If you provide this value, you can also get what you want in return. The idea that being a valuable person is not taught by many in poverty. Even just a few of the wealthy mention it when their child grows up, but those who do, have higher chances at success and happiness. There are a variety of ways to become valuable, from providing your services for the company, to creating an innovative product, service that people use, or showcasing your talent to the world. The more valuable you are, the richer you'll become. The only way to become infinitely more valuable is by allowing yourself to grow your knowledge and skill sets over a longer period of time. Learn how to be better and then practice being better at it for long enough that you start noticing the improvements. It takes 10,000 hours to master anything. That's why the rich have their children try a variety of activities to get a head start on that number of hours. Someone who has knowledge will always be able to generate money, because they are valuable to the marketplace. Number 11. Don't work for money. Have money work for you. This condenses the key points of getting rich. You might read all sorts of books, go to classes, get an MBA and many other things, but they're all based on this. Poor people exchange their time for money and then spend it. Rich people use the money to make more money. The approach these two groups of people take to making money is different. Most people stay poor because they believe that they need to be rich to invest, or it is not worth their time. The wealthy are always looking for new sources of passive income, and it's not about the amount of money, as much as it is about freeing up more time to do other things. You can start a business these days with less than $100, or even for free if you invest your time. As soon as you have enough revenue, use this money to pay for assistants that can do the things you were doing before, so you can stay focused on growing your business and other aspects. Understanding the concept of passive income and how to use money to generate more money is an important foundational piece of any wealth building strategy. Whenever someone new faces a question about what book should they read as their first one if they want to be rich, we always answer with Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's one of the first books created for financial literacy, and it made a difference in our beliefs and actions when we were just starting out. You'll find a translated version of this book in many languages. Pick up a copy today and you won't regret it. Number 12. Not to waste time on things that do not correlate to the real world. You might be disappointed to hear this, but despite your faith in your studied field, no one actually values degrees in ethnic studies or gender studies. Same goes for degrees, majors in journalism, media history, and fine arts. It's true, the educational system is really messed up right now. They seem to be only repeating things you used to understand, which may not be relevant for the future. You're basically getting into massive debt over skills that, 1. You're going to graduate with skills that don't correlate directly to the marketplace you will be working in. And 2, if you're really passionate about any of those topics and have time to put into them, you'll probably be able to make it yourself anyway. We're lending money we don't have to kids who will never be able to pay it back for jobs that no longer exist. That sounds crazy, doesn't it? That's what we've been doing for the past 40 years. Number 13. How to use good debt instead of bad debt. There are two types of debt: good debt and bad debt. Good debt makes you richer and bad debt makes you poorer. Parents probably didn't mention this to their children when they were growing up, but it's one of the lessons that rich people have figured out long ago. Other people or institutions can actually help you to get rich quicker. You just have to know the difference between those two and its purpose. Poor people sometimes take out loans to spend on liabilities like buying a new car, phone, or to cover their necessities. Well-off people borrow money primarily for money-making purposes. Banks and investors love to lend as long as you can convincingly show them how your riches will be safe and how you'll pay it back. This is how people construct skyscrapers. They don't pay for the building from their own pockets and not even for the land on which it stands. Everything is borrowed. The bank is confident that you'll be able to sell or rent the building, and is willing to work with you on it if needed. You have to prove that you know what you're doing by providing evidence of your previous successes. Number 14. 80% of the results come from 20% of the effort. Rich parents want their kids to do well in school but not be the top of the class. This is because it allows them to focus on other aspects of life that are more important. It's related to the Pareto principle, which states that 80% of a result is attributed to just 20% of work. In business, 80% of your business profits come from only 20% of the customers. Which also means that 20% of your employees do 80% of the work, and so on. This can be expressed as a mathematical formula that is often correct in most businesses and in life in general. Parents do not want their children to be the first ones in class because it takes too much time and effort to improve with the smallest deviation. You would need to put in an excessive amount of time for it, and it doesn't leave enough for your real-life education. Exercising your mind with real-world experiences and experimenting will take you far further than remaining inside all night, studying just to gain 5 or 10% on an exam. We first discovered the 80-20 rule in Tim Ferriss' book, and to be honest, we've been leveraging that concept ever since. There's another book called The 80-20th Principle by Richard Koch that focuses exclusively on this concept, and between the two of us we recommend the 4-hour workweek. It's much more fun. Number 15. Having money doesn't make you a better person, it just solves some of the problems. Rich kids are often stereotyped as obnoxious, spoiled, and self-centered. However, that is not necessarily the case unless you inherit that money. You've likely put in a lot of work to attain your current position. Understanding the importance of humility is crucial on your journey towards wealth. Most successful people are humble because they always remember where they came from. These values don't get lost. Humility and respect for others are the first lessons well-off parents tend to teach their children. They know how it feels like to be sitting on the other side, so they try to be mindful of that feeling when teaching. I don't think people should be ashamed of having money or the success of their business. In fact, people should definitely celebrate it. One thing that many people learn later in life is that money can't buy a clear conscience even if you throw all your earnings at it. Money can buy physical comforts, but it cannot buy emotional or mental ones. Okay, we want to hear from you. What lessons did your parents teach you that has served you well in life? If possible, please share it in the comments for other people to read and know. We'll be sure to review every single one of your comments and answer any questions you might have. And for those who stick around until the very end, here's a bonus for you. Number 16. To raise their expectations. If you want your child to have a better life than you did, teach them how not to put up with anything that's less than what they deserve, and always set high expectations. Many people say that the secret to happiness is lowering your expectations, but the secret to financial success is aiming higher and then hitting that goal. People often don't reach for their full potential. They settle for mediocrity and never take a big risks. Competition starts to decrease as you get closer to the top, so does the number of players there. Think of it this way. Would you rather end up meeting your low expectations, or would you want to fall short of the highest possible expectations? If you compare both scenarios, the latter is always better. That is all for this video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss anything. Until next time.